What if I told you there was a way that you can attract everything that you've ever wanted into your life? And I mean anything. Would you actually believe me? In this video, I'm going to tell you about a really tough situation I got into, how I managed to turn that right around and attract everything that I needed at that time. And that was all through positive thinking. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to Jodie B Life. Changing the name of the channel slightly, just it's a little bit more punchier and means I can cover a broader range of things. But I wanted to talk to you today about a situation that happened to me a few years back now when I was a single parent in the army. How it left me really close to giving up everything, close to spiralling into a depression, and how I managed to get out of that and turn everything around for the better. So if you are someone that is feeling a little stuck at the moment, or you're in a situation that you have no actual control over, or you don't feel like you do, everything's like totally out of your control, and you are just wondering, how can I help myself, help the situation? I can't see any other way out. Then this video might be for you. I'm not saying I have a magic pill or I know something nobody else knows. It's actually something that's quite well known, and if applied correctly, in my scenario, it did actually work. So I hope this video either helps you, the viewer watching right now, or you know somebody it may help and you can share it with them. So let's start at the beginning. I was serving as a single parent in the military, and I was a single parent for 10 of those years that I served in the regular army. And I came into a situation where no matter what I did, there's a certain boss in my chain of command that I was just not going to see eye to eye with. And you won't believe what he did to me. Well, he tried to make my life hell because I was a single parent and the rest of the people on his team were not single parents, or if they had families, they had a partner, spouse, there to be able to look after the children if they were needed to be sent away, which I totally understand. In my situation, I did everything I could to make sure I had childcare whenever I needed it. But he just made it really awkward for me, without going into too much detail, or this vlog would be filled up with this one issue, which I don't want it to be. But it came to the point where he decided that he didn't want me there anymore. They were looking to post someone into a regiment near us, and my boss decided that he was going to replace me without telling me. It was actually the guy that was coming in that told me he was my replacement. I wasn't due to leave for another 6 months. Basically, I was looking at a month to move from Catterick down to Tidworth. Now, this was quite a few years back, and my children were still in primary school at the time. And he said, "There's nothing I can do about it. You go in." I said, "Sir, I've got 5 weeks to find a house. It takes 4 weeks to get a reply to get an army house. And obviously, with it being miles away, it's all done through emails." I actually got a reply back saying there was no housing. And this was a week before I was actually due to move in the end. So I spoke to my mum, and she had my children in Scarborough. I moved into the block. Oh, and that's another thing. When I told him there was no houses, I was told to live in the block with my children. Really? That is absolutely outrageous. Anyway, and this guy was a major in the army. Don't get me wrong, not everyone is like that, but you do meet the odd one here and there, like you do anywhere in life. And even though I did everything that I could, I was really fit. I was actually fitter than him. I was actually doing everything that was given to me. It was just the fact that he had to give me a little bit more notice than anyone else. Which, I don't agree with that. It's just treating people like human beings, really. You know, case everyone's got different circumstances. Everything should be looked at case by case. But anyway, that's by the by. He didn't like me. I decided that my children would live with my mum while I went down south, sorted out a house for us, started my new unit and all that, and then I would bring them back down in the summer holidays. They went for a term in the school with my mum, and my house with all my belongings in was still in Catterick, and I had to move down south and start a new life in the block, searching for a house, etc. Schools, you know. Anyway, that was my problem. At the time, that was my problem, my issue. I was having to start a whole new life without my children by my side, which I was only prepared to do if we was going on operations or exercise, not on actually posting from one place to another. So I knew it was unfair. No, I didn't complain about it at the time because I just wanted to get away from that man. I didn't want to have anything to do with him, so I really wanted to go anyway. But it put me in a situation where I felt scared, didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to rebuild my life. I just knew I was going to live in the block, in Tidworth, had to sort out a house, had to sort out schooling, a nanny, some kind of childcare, you know. And I knew I had to build a life for myself down there. I don't know if you've ever heard of a book called The Secret. Somebody gave me a copy to read, which I didn't really read. I ended up handing it back to them without reading. But I decided to buy a copy because I kept hearing about this book. And the only time I actually read it was when we were travelling down south in the back of a minibus with the army. And that was before all the problems happened. We were going to take part in a fitness event, and I was sat in the back and I was bored, and I just remembered it was in my bag. So I started reading The Secret all the way down, which is about 5 hours. And it was written quite well. So it's just like little quotations, a little bit about each quote and everything. And this is quite good. I wonder if this stuff works. But I didn't really believe in it that much. I just looked at it, and it's all about the law of attraction, about knowing what you want, making sure you're clear on it, it's out there, believing that it can come to you, taking action opportunities when they come to you, and being grateful for the things you have and the things you receive. I did think the book made it sound like it was, especially called The Secret, it was some kind of magic. So it's a little bit out there for me. But it was interesting and I enjoyed it. But now you have an idea what I'm talking about, let me explain to you how I put it in practice, how it worked for me, and how I don't think I would have survived without it. So the kids are with my mum, all settled. I'd just left them. I'd locked the door on my house up in Catterick with all my furniture and everything in it. Shoved a few bags of clothes and bits and bobs I was going to need into the back of my BMW, which was an old BMW, and which is relevant in a minute, and drove off on my 5-hour drive down to Wiltshire. So travelling up the road, probably about 5 miles from Tidworth where I needed to be, and a car was turning right in front of me. So I slowed the car right down, as you do, braking behind the car, turning right, and then thought, great, accelerate, nothing. There was just no acceleration at all. It just would not move. say it would not move, it would very slowly move, a little bit like limp mode, I suppose. But I had no signs to say, no dashboard signs saying it was limp mode. But it would hardly move. Now, I managed to, luckily, not far from where I'd actually stopped, there was a lay-by. So I managed to just get enough power out of it to get it into this lay-by. And I phoned the RAC. The RAC guy came and said to me, it's your engine, it's gone. There is no way this car is ever going to work again. Sorry, love, but I think you need a new car. You may as well write this one off. With everything that was in my mind at that moment, I could not deal with my car being broken. And everything I'd read in The Secret and what I'd watched on the documentary, I just said, my car's fine, it will work again. And he said, no, you're not hearing me. He said, your car has had it. The engine is gone. It's never going to work again. Write it off, and it looks like a new car for you. And for some reason, I did not believe a word he said. I did, but not that it would never work again. So I said, this car will work again. I said, it has to. And I looked him straight in the eyes. He went, okay, love, whatever you think. And I said, look, I don't know. This is where I went wrong with it. I said, look, I don't care how much it's going to cost, but I'm getting that car fixed and it will be working again. I need a car. I'm not paying for another car. That's my car and it's going to be fixed. And I had so much belief in what I was saying that actually that car did work again. It cost me a lot of money to get it back on the road. And it actually didn't last more than 6 months, I would say. It needed to be gone. But I think I ended up selling it for scrap in the end. But I did get it back working. It was 3 months in the garage, getting all these things fixed. Lots of money later. And then it lasted me 6 months. But I did get it working again. He said the engine would never work again. So that was one thing. And these don't all come in order like this. This is an ongoing process. But that's just the outcome later on down the line. On the funny part about that story, I started my first day at my new army unit, turning up to the headquarters on, well, me in a recovery vehicle and a car on the back of it. They must have thought, oh my God, who's she? Problem child. But that's the funny bit about it. Now, when I got settled on the army camp and I was in a room in the army block, so the rooms are like a little flatlet. You get a bed and you get your ensuite and some cupboards and stuff and wardrobes and that. But you're sort of like in a little flatlet where there is a kitchen area and like a little communal lounge area as well. I was in there and I started looking for houses. That was my first priority. And I knew at some point I may need a nanny, so I wanted a bigger house because you have to have a certain amount of space if you've got a nanny or an au pair. So I started drawing this house, and it was quite a big house. It was lots of space, lots of room for my kids. They could have a room each if they wanted. And I knew that was very optimistic because with the council housing or housing association, you get what you need. You don't get over what you need. I was being very optimistic with drawing this big house and a room each for the kids and room for me and one for the nanny. And one day I was asked to go look at a house. And it was this massive, great big white townhouse in Amesbury. Now, I was like, wow, this is huge. Because I'd put down I was getting an au pair and nanny, they had to give me a bigger place, like I was saying. But I didn't expect it to be like this size. And when they handed it over to me, the woman that handed it over to me said to me, I don't know how you've got this, because these are normally given to very high up ranks. I was corporal at the time, and she said it's normally senior officers that get these. So I was like, oh, okay, never mind. Still didn't think too much of it. Yeah, I'd drawn a picture and I believed it, and I was trying to use The Secret. Well, I was using The Secret and Law of Attraction, but I still didn't think too much of it at that time. I got into the house and started preparing the house for bringing my children down in the summer holidays. And I was looking at the schools locally. And I rang up one of the schools and she said, got one placement for one of your children in her year, but there's no space in the other year for your other child. You'll have to look somewhere else. I said, I can just send me the forms anyway. So she sent me the forms. Now, bear in mind at this point, I was starting to think there might be something in this secret. So I said, I'm just going to put a form in for both years. I know what she said. I'm not bothered about what she said. I'm going to make it happen. So, and there is a space for both of them. And I just wrote it down for both years. And I did. I got them both in. I was really happy with that, really pleased. So I knew that there was something about what I was doing that was working. Was it what I was doing was matching what The Secret said in Law of Attraction? Wasn't too sure until the next thing happened. The only thing I was missing now was an au pair or a nanny or some really decent childcare to be able to commit to my commitments with the military and also my children. So I was writing down what I wanted from a nanny or an au pair. I was sat in front of my computer, I had Facebook open, and I was thinking, how do I do this? Do I go onto a nanny page? Because you could go onto these websites and you can search for nannies on there. And I was starting to look at setting one of them up as a profile, saying that I was seeking a nanny or an au pair. When we was up north, I used to have the children in a nursery. And there was a guy in the nursery nurse, a really lovely guy. And he used to work there and look after the kids, and the kids adored him. He pings upon my messenger. Bear in mind, he didn't even know where I was living now. He didn't know I'd moved. I hadn't spoken to him for a little while. And his message was, do you know anyone that's looking for a living nanny? Oh my God. I was like, is he stalking me? Has he got a video? Is there a video on this computer? Is he somehow in my mind? How does he know right now that that is exactly what I'm doing? He's never spoken to me on Facebook. I've spoken to him in a while and he just pings up like that. So long story short, he was going to come and do it. I wasn't 100% because of just my head, because he was male and I got two girls. It was nothing against him at all. Lovely guy. But anyway, it worked out that the money that I was prepared to give, he wanted more than that. But he did have a friend that was looking for a position and she was very interested. And she ended up being my nanny and the kids absolutely loved her. I loved her. But she stayed with us for a year. She was absolutely brilliant. But I just felt that that was the last thing I needed to do. And the way it came in, I couldn't explain that. That was too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. So I'm not saying just draw something, write something down and you'll attract it and just sit and wait for it. Because later on, what I found out was that I'd told a few people about me needing a place. And one of them was an officer who was a friend of mine that was from another unit. Now, I didn't think nothing of it, I only told him it in passing. And he has gone to speak to somebody in the housing that he knew, and he'd put in a really good word for me. And whether right or wrongly, then I'd been given this house on the back end of what he'd said. So I hadn't mentioned it to anybody. So I didn't know who I was telling that was going to help me. But I mentioned it to him, one of the few people I did tell that weren't directly at my unit that we already knew. He wouldn't have then gone and sorted that out. So it doesn't mean that if If I'd have sat there and enjoyed a big house, it wouldn't happen. He was part of the puzzle. It's seeing these opportunities that come to you and jumping on them as well. So like with the car, I made a bit of a mistake. Said I don't care how much it costs, but I will get it started again. I shouldn't have said I don't care how much it costs, because that's where I contradicted myself. And did I just get lucky with the school? There's too much altogether at one time in a scenario where I just learned about the law of attraction for it to have all happened as a coincidence, because I had nothing, none of them, when I went down there. I was living in the block. My children weren't with me. My house was up north. I had to pull all that back together again because somebody decided they wanted rid of me out of their regiment. So I'm not saying to you that this is going to 100% work for you or for anyone else. However, it worked for me, and that's what I believe. And I believe this is how I brought everything back together. So I wanted to share this video with you so that you could have a look into this for yourself. I'll leave a link for The Secret down below in the description if you want to check that out and you haven't done before. But think about it like this. If you're in a situation where you're close to maybe spiralling into depression, or you're not in control of everything and things seem to be slipping away outside of your reach and you feel like you need to take some control back, why not try this? Because it's something that you can control. You can think positively rather than negatively. You have to know what you want first, which is the main thing. Be passionate about that. Ask for it, whether that's writing it down. Some people pray, some people ask the universe. I just wrote it down. Sometimes I write things into my notes on my phone, so I've got it written down. I know what it is. I want its clarity. I'm grateful for what I've got. I'm grateful for what I receive. And I believe that that is going to happen for me. And when I'm really in that moment and doing it properly, things do happen. Wouldn't it be better, rather than feeling negative about a scenario you're in, to have a positive attitude anyway, even if it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to? The process and the journey and the opportunities that can come to you when you've got a positive mind over a negative mind. More opportunities are out there. And it's about seeing them small opportunities that could possibly lead to where you want to be. And if you're in a positive mindset, you'll attract other people in a positive mindset and more doors will open for you. So even if the outcome that you wanted didn't actually happen and you don't fully believe in The Secret or the law of attraction anyway, but just having a positive attitude and using some of the things said in this video will help you get through. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear any stories that you've had using the law of attraction and what you actually think about it and what you thought about this video. If you've enjoyed this video, give me a like and subscribe to the video for more content like this. Hope you've enjoyed it. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.